Morning everyone. Welcome to the first session of Structural Analysis 2. Myself Ahmed Abdullahad, Assistant Professor ISL Engineering College. Civil Department. I'll be teaching this subject for you all, especially for um, third year, second semester. The structural analysis 1, in the previous structural analysis 1, we have seen different methods, isn't it? We have seen slope deflection method, moment distribution method. Then we have came across Canny's method. Then we went for the moving loads, isn't it? So now in this unit, in this particular subject, we'll be taking up some different methods like flexibility matrix method. Then we have stiffness matrix method, and even we have direct element method in this unit, in this subject. After that, we have approximate method of analysis. In approximate method of analysis, we have substitute frame method, and even we have analysis of frame subjected to lateral loads. So the substitute frame method is all this method, especially the fourth unit, is one of the most, I feel it's very important, because sometimes we have to come across, in certain conditions we have to calculate the loads, we have to calculate the moments in such a way that we should reach an approximate values without going for the mathematical calculations. So this method is very much important and very much useful for us for the calculation of approximate moments, okay, directly without any further heavy calculations, even in which we have seen, in slope deflection method or in moment distribution method, we have came across very long calculations. So in this method, especially exclusively approximate method of analysis, we have very quick methods to calculate moments, we have very quick method to calculate reactions, okay. All these things we'll see in this subject particularly. And when we consider this flexibility matrix method and stiffness matrix method, these two methods are completely interlinked with each other, okay. What will be coming in this unit and what will be coming in this unit, we'll see in the classes itself, okay. So again, in this unit, we have determination of static and kinematic indeterminacy, and what is principle of superposition. I'll explain all these things in the later part of this video only. And along with that, which type of beams will be studying here? The same beams which we have studied in slope deflection method, moment distribution method, and Canny's method, those beams only will be studying in this unit, that is continuous beams. And that too, the static indeterminacy should not exceed 3. What do you mean by that? We will see again in the classes, okay. Then subjected to concentrated forces, unit forces, and concentrated moments, effect of temperature and lack of it. Temperature also affects the moments, isn't it? So all these things we'll be seeing in this particular unit, along with the stiffness matrix method. So these two units are, completely interlinked with each other, and I can say that this is inversely. I mean, if this is displacement by force, though this will be force by displacement. Okay, all these things we'll see in the classes. Then we have one more method for of analysis, that is direct element method. Direct element method is completely different when compared to these methods. In this flexibility matrix method and stiffness matrix method, we have matrices. We'll be using the will be changing the entire beam into a matrix form. Okay, the same thing we'll be doing here in direct element method also, but will be a bit different from these two units. Okay, and for this one we have to use our IS 456 2000 for the calculation of moments, okay, simple calculations. Then we have introduction to finite element method. Along with that, I think in this one direct element method, we have structural analysis software packages. So as we all know, what are the software packages available in market for the analysis of structures? That is the basic software is STAAD Pro, isn't it? The STAAD Pro is majorly used everywhere nowadays. We are using ETABS also, then we have SAP also. Multiple softwares are coming up with easy user face interactions. So these are the softwares which will be studying, just an introduction to these softwares. Will not be hand you using it, will be just learning it, just giving you, I'll give you an introduction of all these softwares packages, okay. Then in the fifth unit consists of finite element method. So what is finite element method? Finite element method is something wherein, we try to uh, reduce the entire beam or any part, a big structure, into a small structure. Okay, suppose for example we have a very big beam like this. Okay, now what we will do, we'll try to cut down the beam and we'll take the small part of the beam and we'll study on that particular small part, then we integrate that to get the final result. Again, we have different types of problems and types of materials and even types of forces again in that. Then we have some techniques to solve this one, that is Rayleigh-Ritz method and one dimensional element method. Then we have shape function, then we have mesh function also, all these things. Then again we have introduction to FEM structural engineering softwares. So introduction to FEM structural engineering softwares is nothing but we we have multiple softwares like ANSYS and Abacus and COMSOL Multiphysics. All these softwares are nothing but finite element modeling softwares. We say it as modeling softwares, wherein we give the material to the software, we give the entire beam or size of the material, size of the member to the software, and we ask the software itself that where the structure is failing. Okay, so the software will tell us where the entire beam or column is failing. So all these methods, I mean especially finite element method, we always try to take one beam. In case of the structural analysis, in this one especially for structural analysis softwares, what we do, we take the entire structure. But here, especially in finite element method, we'll be taking only the one member of the structure, that is one column only we'll consider. One column we consider, then we'll integrate it to get the entire behavior of the building, isn't it? We take one part of the beam, we analyze that particular beam, then immediately we integrate that to get the entire behavior of that particular structure. Okay, so all these things we'll be seeing in this unit. All right. So first unit is flexibility matrix method. Then we have stiffness matrix method. Then direct element method. Then approximate method of analysis, as I told you this one. Then again finally we have introduction to finite element method. Okay. So we'll see the first unit, that is flexibility matrix method. What is flexibility matrix method and what is static indeterminacy, kinematic indeterminacy? All these things we'll see in this presentation. Okay. So this is the notes we have, the flexibility matrix method. So what is static indeterminacy? Static indeterminacy is defined as the number of unknown reactions. That's it. It is defined as the number of unknown reactions. Suppose for example, static indeterminacy is equal to number of reactions minus number of equilibrium equations. So we know how many number of unknowns are there or how many reactions are there. We all know. Suppose for example, this is the first example. We have a cantilever beam. Okay, one part of the beam is fixed, another part of the beam is free. So we know this fixed end will have how many moments? Uh, Fixed part will have three reactions, isn't it? One reaction will go in vertical upward direction. Okay, this is one reaction, and another reaction will go in exactly horizontal direction, and this is one moment. So how many reactions are there totally? Three reactions. So number of reactions is how much we have? 3 here. Number of reactions is 3. Now how many number of equilibrium equations we have? Number of equilibrium equations for a 2D frame is always 3. Always 3. Always we have number of equilibrium equations 3 for 2D frame. So static indeterminacy is equal to number of reactions minus number of equilibrium equations, that is 3 minus 3, which is equal to 0. So the static indeterminacy of this structure is 0. So what do you mean by static indeterminacy when of the structure is 0? That means we can calculate these reactions with the help of our equilibrium equations. We can calculate our unknown reactions with the help of equilibrium equations. We do not want any further equations to solve this unknown reactions, isn't it? Now we'll move to the second part. We have a propped cantilever. See here, this is nothing but your prop, isn't it? So we have three reactions here, one in vertical direction, another one in horizontal direction, and one more we have in a moment, isn't it? So we have a moment here. Then we have one more reaction which is going in upward direction here. So how many unknown reactions we have? One, two, three. Three reactions here and one reaction here. So totally number of reactions is four. How many number of equilibrium equations we have? Always equilibrium equations will be three. So 4 minus 3 is how much? 1. 4 minus 3 is 1, isn't it? So the static indeterminacy of this structure is 1. Okay, so we need one extra equation to solve this problem. All right. Similarly, this is one part. Now we'll go to the third example. We have, see here, we have a continuous beam, isn't it? This type of beam we have seen many times in our slope deflection method and moment distribution method. Now see here, this fixed support has three reactions. Then we have one support here, one more support here. So we will be having reactions here. So one, two, then three. So totally five reactions are there. Number of equilibrium equations is 3. So 5 minus 3 is 2. So that means we have how many, what is the static indeterminacy of this structure now? Static indeterminacy of this structure is 2 now. Similarly, the fourth example, suppose the beam is fixed here and even the beam is fixed over here. So how many reactions will be there? 3 here and 3 here. So 6 reactions are there. Number of equilibrium equations is 3. So totally 6 minus 3 is 3. Able to understand? So in our syllabus actually, static indeterminacy not exceeding 3. Okay, we have seen static indeterminacy not exceeding 3. This one, static indeterminacy not exceeding 3, that means we'll be using the static indeterminacy of the structure should be 3 only. Okay, this is the limit of the problems. Able to follow? So these type of problems we'll be studying in flexibility matrix method. Now what is principle of superposition? Now principle of superposition is nothing but suppose, see, I'll read out the definition. It states that for a linear system, the net deflection at the joint caused by the two or more reactions is the sum of deflection caused that would have caused by the reaction or load individual. Now what is the meaning of that? The definition seems to be a bit complicated, but once we go to the next slide, see this slide now. See here, we have a propped cantilever here. We have one reaction here, and here we have a fixed support, and the beam is loaded uniformly with the UDL. Okay, UDL is acting on the entire beam. Now because of this UDL, my beam, I'm remove now in the first step. See, this is the first step, right? This is the first step. In this step, what I have done, I have removed this force. I have removed this reaction from the support. So what happens to the beam? The beam has become a cantilever beam, isn't it? So in the first case, I have removed this force, and because of this UDL, since I have removed this vertical reaction, so my beam will try to get deflected in downward direction, isn't it? So the downward deflection, I am claiming it as YB1, deflection in Y direction at B in first condition. What I have done in the first case, I have removed this one. I have removed this reaction from here. So because since I have removed this reaction, my beam will try to go in downward direction, isn't it? Right? Now in the next step, what I have done, you see here, in the next step, in this step, second step, I have removed the UDL now. I have removed the UDL and I have placed my reaction. So now because of this reaction, my beam will try to, because of this force, actually, we cannot say reaction, it is a force, right? Because of this, there will be a reaction, isn't it? So because of this force, my beam will try to get deflected in upward direction, isn't it? If I remove this force, if I am removing this force, because of this vertical force, my beam will try to get in upward direction. So I am naming this as YB2. Okay, deflection in Y direction in upward direction in the second case. Okay, so now the total deflection at B, YB is equal to YB1 plus YB2. This is nothing but your principle of superposition. This is nothing but principle of superposition. See, I am going to the previous slide again. Now you read down. It states that for a linear system, the net deflection at the joint caused by two or more reactions, two or more reaction is the sum of deflections that would have been caused by the reaction or load individually. Okay. Hope you have understood this one. Gradually we'll see in the problems also. Now you have understood this one. I'll explain it once again. See here we have a beam of one end fixed and other end we have a small reaction over there with a small support. So it is the beam is subjected to UDL. Now when the UDL is acting on the beam, so what happens? The beam will have multiple forces, multiple reactions. Okay, so you will keep all those reactions aside, and what we will do in the first step, I will remove this support. I am removing this support. So once I remove this support, what will happen to the beam? Because of this UDL, my beam will try to get deflected in downward direction, isn't it? So once the beam gets deflected in downward direction, so that deflection will consider it as YB1. Okay, next deflection, next in the second case I am removing this UDL. So when I remove this UDL, because of this vertical force, my beam will try to get move in upward direction. Okay, that will be YB2. So total deflection is equal to YB is equal to YB1 plus YB2. Okay, hope you have understood till here. Okay. So here we'll move to the next part of the problem, that is, a topic, that is from principle of superposition. So you have understood this thing, right? UDL and all these things. Now we'll move to the principle of superposition. Uh, now I am considering principle of superposition. Principle of superposition, the same thing, but we'll use different types of thing here. What is that? You see now. So see here we have a beam, we have a continuous beam, this beam, and it is subjected to UDL over the entire span of the beam. Okay, no need to take about the distances. Okay, keep those distances aside. Now first see here, in the first case we'll be having one reaction here. 1 minute. We'll be having one reaction here, isn't it? Two reactions will be there here at B and at C, isn't it? We'll be having reactions. Will be having three reactions here also, isn't it? One in Y direction, one in X direction, and again we'll be having a moment. Okay, these are the three reactions we'll be having at this joint. Okay, so in the first case, what I will do, what is the principle, what is the static indeterminacy of this structure, you tell me? This is 1, 2, 3 reactions here, 4, 5. So 5 minus 3 is how much? 2. So the static indeterminacy of this structure is how much? 2, isn't it? So if the static indeterminacy of this structure is 2, so what we will do, we'll try to remove two unknown forces to make this beam as statically determinate. Okay, so what we are doing here, I am removing this reaction. See, if you see the first step, this step, I am removing this reaction and this reaction. Now you see this beam. If you see this beam, particularly first beam, if you see this beam, I have removed this one, isn't it? Reaction at B and reaction at C I have removed. So only if you see this beam, now this beam seems to be statically determinate. Why? Because three reactions are there here only. Remaining two reactions we have removed totally. This reaction I have removed and this reaction I have removed in this from here and here. Okay, so UDL is acting over the entire beam. Now after that we have, I'm naming this as node 1, this as node 1 and this as node 2. This one, point C as node 2 and point B as node 1. So what will happen here? Delta L1, because of this we'll be having deflection here, isn't it? Why? Because we have removed this one. So we'll be having deflection, that is delta L1, then delta L2, delta L1 and delta L2. So why we are getting these deflections? Because we have removed the reactions. Okay, hope you have understood till here. Okay, so what we have done here? First we have placed we have removed these two reactions to make this system as completely determinate. So if you see this beam is completely determinate. All the reactions we have removed. Now because of this UDL, my beam will try to get deflected in downward direction. The same thing what we have done here. What we have done here, the same thing we are doing here. The same thing we are doing here also. So that means we are removing the reactions, two reactions, and we are placing our UDL. So because of the placement of UDL, my beam will try to get deflected in downward direction. So we are naming this as delta, capital big delta 1 and delta L2, delta L1 and delta L2. Okay. Now after this one, in the second step, please observe here carefully. That is, in the second step, what we have done at node 1, we have considered node 1, no? So in node 1, I have removed all the UDL, even this force is also removed. So only one force is applied here. So I have applied node 1 here, I mean RB here. Because of this RB, my beam will try to get deflected in upward direction, isn't it? So we'll name it as delta 11 and delta 12. So what do you mean by delta 12? Delta 12 is deflection at node 2 due to applied load at node 1. See here, delta 12 is nothing but deflection at node 2, deflection at node 2 due to load applied at node 1. Okay, what is delta 11? Very carefully, these numbers delta 11 and 12, these are very important. So what is delta 11? Delta 11 is the load, is the deflection at node 1. Delta 11 is the deflection, I am repeating again and again, delta 11 is the deflection at node 1 due to load applied at node 1. What is delta 12? Deflection at node 2 due to load applied at node 1. Deflection at node 2 due to load applied at node 1. Delta 12 is deflection at node 2 due to load applied at node 1. Okay. Hope you have understood this one, right? This one. Next we'll go for this one. So in the next third part, what we have done, see here, we have applied RC here, we have applied RB now. Here we are applying RC now. UDL is not there, RB is also not there. So what will happen to the beam? My beam will try to get deflected in upward direction, isn't it? So my beam will try to get deflected. It should be here, it should be like this. Okay, the beam should get deflected in upward direction. So now what happens? What is delta 21? Delta 21 is the deflection at node 1 due to load applied at node 2. Okay, deflection at node 2, node 1 due to load applied at node 2. Similarly, what is delta 22? Delta 22 is deflection at node 2 due to load applied at node 2. Okay, very carefully you have to observe these things. Okay, all right. So what happens finally in the next slide, we'll see now. So total deflection will be total deflection at node 1 will be delta L1, delta 11 plus delta 12. Okay. Then what is the total deflection at node 2? Delta 2 is equal to delta L2 plus delta 21 plus delta 22. Okay. So flexibility is defined as, this is very important, that is flexibility is defined as the displacement caused by unit reaction or unit force. Displacement caused by the unit force or unit reaction. Unit force or unit reaction. So that means flexibility is defined as delta by R. Flexibility is defined as delta, deflection or displacement by reaction or force. Force by displacement is flexibility. Deflection by force is flexibility, and stiffness is force by deflection. Okay. So these are completely interrelated. Now flexibility, I am using this term only. Flexibility is defined as delta by R. So F11 is equal to F11 by RB. Okay. Now what is F11? F11 is delta 11 is deflection at node 1 due to load applied at node 1. Okay, delta 11. So delta 11 I can write it as delta 11 is equal to, I am sending this term towards like this. Okay, F11 into RB. The same thing we are doing here. What is F12? Delta 12 by RC. Where is 12? You see there, delta 12. So deflection by uh, deflection by reaction, RC. Okay, here we have RC now, so that is why at but that is why we are applying RC here. Okay, see here. Uh, so delta 1 2, where the delta 1 2 is acting, that is what we have to apply the what is the force or reaction acting over there, we have to write this one. Okay, similarly F21 is equal to delta 21 by RB. Delta 21 is equal to F21 by RB. How we got this one? Just send this term towards this side. We got this one. We'll get this one. So we know we have got all these values. Okay, this one, all these values are there with us. Now delta 1 is equal to delta L1 plus delta 11 plus delta 12. Okay, from where we got this one? We got from here. Okay, so all right, all these values, that is delta L1, we know delta L1. What about delta 11? We know this one, delta 12 F12 into RC. Similarly delta 2 values we have written over here. So this one and this one. Now we are writing all these terms in matrix form. So what I am doing here, you see here delta 1 and this delta 2 I am writing here. Okay, equal to delta L1 and delta L2 I am writing here, plus just open the bracket and write down F11 F12 F21 F22 into RC, because since we have here RB, here also we have RB, here we have RC. So once you open this bracket, no, once you open all these things, you will get these two equations only. So that is why we have placed all these things in, in this form, F11 F12 F21 F22. Then we have RB and RC. Okay, so we can write here, see, delta is equal to delta L to deflection plus flexibility matrix into reaction. See here, I am writing this in the shortest form, that is delta is equal to delta L plus F, that is flexibility matrix, plus R. See here, the same thing we have done here. So now what we are doing here, now in the next step, delta, we are sending this delta L to the left hand side. So what will happen, F into R is equal to delta minus delta L. So what is R now? These are the reactions we have to calculate, isn't it? RB and RC we have to calculate. So R is equal to delta minus delta L by flexibility matrix. So R is equal to flexibility matrix inverse into delta minus delta L. So this is the introduction part of this first unit. Okay, that is flexibility matrix method. So in from the next class onwards, we'll be starting our problems, how to solve the problem, how to take those equations, all these things we'll see. All right, all right. If you have any doubts, or if you feel that the explanation of this class needs some, other things, then please let me know, so that we can, find some other ways to solve the problems. Okay, all right.